and welcome to Added Time, a podcast and space for women's football fans, players and anyone who loves the game. I'm Abbie McCarthy, and alongside me, two players with incredible careers and even better stories and analysis. Hello to Fran Kirby and Beth England. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you both? Are we feeling festive? Beth, you've got a big grin on your face. Does that mean you're feeling Christmassy?
I will be in a week's time once we've officially broken up, but right now it's still all business.
Fair enough. How about you, Fran? Are you getting there with the Christmas mode?
I am completely Christmas mode now. Full guns ahead for me right now. We finished yesterday and yeah, we're off now for the rest of Christmas and go back after Christmas. But obviously we still have to do our individual plans and things. We can't just, sit around and not do anything for the next 2 weeks. So yeah, we have quite a hard Christmas gym running schedule coming up. So I'm looking forward to it in terms of that I can train as and when I want to around my own schedule, but I'm also not looking forward to it because the sessions look quite hard.
Yeah, don't think about that just now. Also, you're doing the absolute reverse from me and so many football fans, where for me, the eating and drinking a lot has already started. It's definitely like in full swing, but you guys being the athletes you are, you can't quite go down that road. But yeah, I'm feeling Christmassy as well. Watched the Gavin and Stacey Christmas special and Love Actually over the weekend. I actually baked mince pies, guys, so look at me. Basically Miss Santa over here. Unbelievable scenes.
I was going to say, you need to go to the North Pole or something. You have got a gig there for the rest of your life.
Do you guys have any like big Christmas traditions in your households with your families?
No, I'd say we're a bit boring, really. We haven't got any specific, other than going to the pub on Christmas Day, which I'm not sure I should admit, but that's my favourite thing. But that's about it.
Own it.
Yeah, I love pub.
That's going to be the one clip that gets taken out of this whole
It's
podcast.
fine. Everyone knows at work that how much I love pub, so it's absolutely fine. I didn't say what I drink there. I just said I like being in the pub environment. So
Apple juice.
love apple juice, especially short, small little apple juices.
Yes, I get what you're saying. How about you, Fran? Any kind of go-to things to get you in the mood for Christmas?
I think the last few years I've always kind of done a little like Christmas get together, Christmas party with all kind of like close friends, and had that yesterday. So that was really nice and got me feeling a little bit more festive, and just seeing people that maybe, you don't see all the time, but you can have everyone at the same place, regardless on kind of where they live, what's their job, how long you've known them. It's just nice to get everyone in the same room and have some Christmas music on and just kind of chat and, just kind of have a cozy evening in. So had that yesterday, and then, now I'm feeling very, very ready for Christmas.
Oh, I love it. I was also wondering, obviously, because you two are so competitive, you are winners, you are ballers. Does that competitive side show when you play ball games at Christmas? Because I actually get pretty heated, so I don't know what you two are like.
I reckon Beth does. Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? Like Fran just mentioned about a Christmas party yesterday that I went to, and I met someone that I'd met him before, and he says, "Oh, I remember last time I met you was when we went to bowling," and my first response was, "Did I win?" Because I obviously don't remember meeting him, but I literally, and everyone just started laughing at me, and I'm like, well, I need to know the important details. Was if I won, then it was a great time. If I lost, then that's probably why I don't remember you, because I was too busy raging at the fact that I didn't win.
I don't really care about winning in things that I know I'm not good at. If we went bowling or something, like I wouldn't really care, or board games, or I wouldn't really care so much about losing them kind of things. But football, I really, really care about in terms of anything to do with football.
I'm the opposite. I'm almost like angry that I'm not good at it. So I have to like go in a little bit of a rage bait, because I'm like, I should be good at this because I want to win. We have totally different perspectives on that one.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm the same. If I'm not good at a ball game immediately, I'm bored. I really need to be good and winning. So yeah, my family know that, bless them. So yeah, good luck them over Christmas. But let's get to the WSL weekend that just went. Plenty of goals, drama and chaos. So let's get into it. Let's start with one of the standout performances. Man City smashing Villa 6-1. So that makes it City's 10th win in a row. A casual 4 goals for Bunny Shaw, and City kind of looking unstoppable at this point, maybe, Fran.
Yeah, look, I think I was watching the game the other night with Liverpool, Aston Villa, and watching it, I was like, Aston Villa are really starting to get into their flow. They're starting to find what works for them. They're using what they're good at and taking it to another level. But then you see that result and you're like, oh my God, like it's always one of them ones when you see it, you're like, did City play really well or did Aston Villa not just turn up on the day? And you never really know how to work them things out. But to score 6 goals against an Aston Villa side who obviously were flying high a little bit in terms of the confidence coming off, winning against Liverpool and winning kind of comfortably there, to then lose 6-1, yes, okay, you could maybe say the recovery wasn't ideal in terms of, they played midweek. They had to kind of like turn that around quite quickly. But I think that result from Man City is a real kind of boom. This is not just, we're not just here to try and make you think that we're going to be 6 points clear and we're going to, not keep going. I feel like that result is kind of yeah, okay, we're going for it now. We're going and, you're going to have to really try and stop us. So, yeah, and obviously Bunny Shaw, she's on fire, absolutely on fire. And I think the only thing that can hinder City's kind of dominance in the league this season is losing her. If they lose her in terms of injury, in terms of anything going into, the next few months, then I think you're looking at it going, okay, maybe they're going to struggle. But if she is fully fit and she's fully firing for the rest of the season, I don't think there's many teams that will be able to handle her and be able to stop her in the flow that she's in right now.
As you say, in such fierce form, reached her 100th WSL goal in that game and then a few more. But the stats from her are epic. So 36 headers, 46 with her right foot, 18 with her left, 9 hat-tricks. I mean, a pretty complete striker, isn't she, Beth?
Yeah, I mean, look, the stats speak for themselves, as you just mentioned, and I've seen the stat of she's made 120 appearances for Man City and scored 103 goals. Like, that is ridiculous. That is, like, unheard of. And I think, it's funny, I think of Bunny, and I think when Ellen White used to be at Man City, and Bunny kind of came in as, like, the second striker almost for when Ellen was on her way out, and you kind of looked at her and you thought, is she really going to be the one to replace Ellen? Like, Ellen's like tenacity, her willingness, her running, everything she brought is very different strengths to what Bunny has. And I think she's much more of a traditional nine. She's an absolute workhorse and will get in the box. And I wouldn't say she necessarily created a lot for herself, whereas Bunny's probably less mobile, but more like she's strong. She can create her own goals. She's like physical in the box. They're just very different calibers of players. And you always wondered, is that going to hinder City, or are they going to bring in another striker alongside Bunny that will be more mobile in order to get around and press, or how City naturally play? But Lord, has she shut up the question marks on that, because she is, like I said, she's seen her find form year after year in her goal scoring records, and yeah, to achieve what she's done, and like, she's just frightening. And I think not only that, you look at the service that she's getting from the rest of players like Hasegawa, Viv Miedema, like, they have an unbelievable squad. And if you can't find her and feed her, if you feed her, she will score you goals. But the good thing is that what I like about her game this year, she's showing she's creating her own. It's not just about service to the box. Like, she's also, what I think has added is she's assisting others more. And I think that's something as a striker, you're always talking about, I want to score goals, but it's not often strikers are the ones providing the goals. And I think we're seeing a lot more from her in that response. And I don't know if that's from learning new things from playing with the likes of Miedema in that 10 role and seeing different pictures to what she would see. But yeah, she's a phenomenal player. She deserves all the accolades. She's making it very difficult for anyone wanting to catch her in the Golden Boot race for a start, on top of being an absolute fire weapon for Man City in their title race contention.
Yeah, the Golden Boot probably looking like it's going to be hers at this point. And in her post-match interview, she does credit the team, like you said, for the service she gets. She's around some of the very best. Sometimes it is literally there on a platter for her, isn't it? But her and Miedema in particular, they are quite the combo, aren't they? It's almost like they are reading each other's movements so well. So, like, as players, how do you try and stop a duo like that when they're just firing on all cylinders?
It's really tough. I think when people get into a flow of just working with the same player over and over again, you get into a flow of not even needing to look to see where they are. And it's one of the ones where it was quite interesting actually the other day, because our assistant coach, Chris, he was at Everton for a while. And he came over to me because we obviously played Chelsea on the weekend, and he asked me about like my partnership with Sam Kerr the year when we were kind of just feeding off one another. And he was saying that for their analysis, they basically were saying that if you see one of them have the ball, you need to see where the other one is, because you just kind of get a feeling, you know where the run's going to go, you know where the pass has to go, you know where they are working off you. And it's one of them ones where you're probably looking at it as an opposition and you're sitting there going, okay, Viv Miedema has the ball, where's Bunny? You know, you're kind of trying to work on both. Like as a centre half, you're looking, okay, Miedema's got the ball, where's my player? Okay, Bunny Shaw's got the ball, where's my player? And I think that's kind of how you have to try and work with it. You have to see both and try and read both at the same time. But it's so hard because when you're in that flow of just playing with people consistently, whether that is the centre backs playing with the same centre backs week in, week out, whether that's the fullback and the winger, you know, getting that momentum, getting that rhythm of playing with each other, it becomes just kind of like natural. It becomes easy to find one another. But that comes with cohesion and that comes with consistently playing with the same players. And I think that's where sometimes maybe larger squads struggle when they do so many rotations week in, week out. You can't build that kind of connection between the players, whereas Man City have allowed Bunny and Viv Miedema to play with each other consistently from the start. And obviously it's great that they're both fit, they're both able to do it. Obviously in last season you could see it was a bit disjointed because one would be injured, one would come back, one would be injured, so they didn't kind of get that cohesiveness. But yeah, it's one of the ones, as a defender or whoever you are playing against them, you have to look at it and go, right, Viv Miedema's got the ball, where is Bunny Shaw? It's always got to be a thought in your mind. It's like when you get the ball and you're crossing it out from the wing or something. For example, Beth's goal against Man United the other day, right? Okay, the ball's going to come into the box. Where's Beth England? Because such a threat with her head. So these are the questions that you always have to be asking yourself when you're playing against these players is, where is she? Where is she? But then when they're in a flow, they'll find the movement to get away from you. They'll find the finish, the scrappy finish, the great finish. So it's really, really difficult to defend. But there is a way to stop if you stop it at source. But like I said, when you're fully firing, it's just natural to find the passes. So I think it's going to be really, really difficult for many teams to stop them.
Yes, agreed. Shaw and Miedema in lots of defenders' nightmares at the moment, I can imagine. Man City's first WSL game back after Christmas is against Everton. They've still got Chelsea and Arsenal to play in February, Man United to play after that at the end of March. So I'm just saying there's some big games still to play and it's not over till it's over. Love you, Chelsea. And talking of Chelsea, let's debrief on your game against them, Fran, with Brighton. Obviously, it was a must-win game for Chelsea. And really, it was that moment of individual brilliance from Sandy Baltimore that kicked off the scoring. But the defensive work from Brighton up until that point was so good, basically kept Chelsea really quiet in the first half. It had to be that screamer from Baltimore outside of the box as well to actually break you guys down initially.
Yeah, look, it was a really, really tough game for us, a really tough day in general. And I think as much as we defended really, really well for large parts of the game, I just don't feel we were in the game enough to warrant to get something out of it. I think I don't want to say that maybe we gave them probably more respect, because you're always going to respect Chelsea and the players that they have and the calibre of players you have. But I just felt watching us, we just looked a little bit lax. We looked a little bit like we weren't going in for them tackles. Like, we defended very well, like you said, we were able to keep a clean sheet to a certain point, but we didn't really offer anything in terms of going forward. I think we really struggled in our build-up. We really struggled kind of holding the ball up, exploiting the spaces that they were giving us, because there was space there. We just never kind of got ourselves into them kind of situations. So, but I mean, Chelsea, dominated the game. Very, very good technical players. We're able to kind of find the passes in and around us. Some really good finishes as well and build-up play. I think Alyssa Thompson's goal was really good in terms of the build-up and how they kind of played from back to front. But yeah, I think we were really disappointed with ourselves in terms of how we went into the game. I think, we can have all the tactics that you want, but if you don't go into it with, that fire and that belief that you can win, it was highly unlikely that Chelsea were going to go 2 games without winning in terms of going back-to-back defeats, because, they have that mentality to keep going. But I do believe that if we had a little bit more composure when we did have the ball, we could have probably harmed them a little bit more. I think we created a couple of chances in the second half by just literally slowing down the game. And I think that's one thing that I was trying to get across to the girls during the week. It was, we don't have to go 100 miles an hour just because we've got into Chelsea's half, because that's what they want. They want you to rush your pass. They want you to rush the shot. They want you to rush everything, so you don't have that composure. So I would say we had a little bit more in the second half, but I mean, it still wasn't anywhere near good enough or enough time to actually kind of warrant something from the game. So I think the result, I mean, I think our goalkeeper, Sophie Bagley, had a really good game in terms of, well, a lot of the strikes were just straight at her, but for her to be in the right place at the right time, I think she kept the scoreline probably quite reasonable. I think they had quite a few more chances that probably, you're looking at probably thinking you should have scored in them moments. But yeah, I think the result reflected our performance in terms of the way that we just didn't really produce anything to kind of give them a bit of a headache, really.
And not to make it about Chelsea, because I do have a tendency to do that, but I felt like it was the Sam Kerr that we know kind of coming alive in that game. Obviously, the assist for Alicia Thompson's goal. And Fran, like we were saying earlier, you were such a great partnership. Do you think she is kind of getting there? Things are starting to click that little bit more?
Yeah, I think it's the sharpest that I've seen her look since coming back from injury, in terms of her movements, in terms of her runs, in terms of recognizing where the space was. But yeah, it takes time. And this is what, a lot of people don't really understand. When you've had a long-term injury, it's really hard to find your feet again. And it's really hard to get that match fitness back, because the only way you can do it is playing games. Training will never replicate how a match feels when teams are doing something opposite than what you're used to or anything like that. So it takes time. And yeah, I think it was the sharpest that I've seen her. And, on another day, she probably could have had a couple of goals as well. So she's definitely getting herself in them positions. She looks strong. She looks powerful. She looks explosive. And these are the things that will happen and will come the more that she plays and the more she gets exposed to them things. And I mean, obviously, yesterday she came on for the full second half, so she had a good kind of stint to kind of build her fitness. So now you're looking at it going, okay, let's keep building, because she is someone you want on the pitch. And I think, Aggie had a really great start to the season in terms of scoring, in terms of her productivity when she had the ball, but I think Sam gives you something different, and she gives you an out-and-out number 9. She's an out-and-out number 9, and that's what she's really good at. So I think for the next few games, it wouldn't surprise me if you see Sam starting a few more.
Yes, fingers crossed, that is for sure. Now, I mentioned drama in the opening for today's episode, and there was plenty of that in the Man United and Spurs game. Just pure, brilliant chaos to watch as a fan. Beth, your Spurs side were obviously leading 3-0, but Man United just kept pushing, didn't they? Late goals scored in the end by Toon and Rolfo to secure the draw. You must be really pleased with the goals. Well, the cheeky header from you was absolutely lovely, and the others as well. But then that disappointment as well to let that lead slip away.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I'm not quite over it yet. I think obviously it only happened yesterday, but against teams like that, you have to punish them. You have to be clinical. You have to take your chance. We did everything right, but then we just fell at the final hurdle of the last 15 minutes of the game, letting those 3 goals in. And it's disappointing because I was honestly so proud of the team and the way we were defended. Don't get me wrong, we know they had a lot of chances. I think I saw it after the game. I didn't even realise they had 34 shots. I don't know if, obviously not all of those were on target, but the crossbar was probably the man of the match in the first half. Like, I do think we had a little bit of fortune on our side, but again, we've been a team where there's plenty of times where that fortune's been on the other team's side. That's gone in and we've been 3-4-0 down at half time. But for us, we were in a position where we were able to stay defensively solid, like keep to the tactics that we were given. We got a lead through the goal, and it was just like, okay, like we're not going to take our foot off the gas now. We're going to really push for it, because I think we respect them enough to know how great they are, but we're not stupid enough to think that we can't match them or we can't get in their heads a little bit and rattle them. And I think we definitely did that. I think you look at again, not excuses. They've obviously had midweek games in Champions League, so I can imagine they're obviously tired. But we're on thin ice at the minute in terms of bodies. We've got a lot of injuries, people still carrying knocks. I've been wiped out pretty much most of the week before. You can probably still hear it a bit in my voice. And I think the fight that we gave for those 95 minutes, even though it was a draw, like I said it in my post-match interview, I was so proud to be on that pitch with the girls, because a team like United, you think you've got players like Leah Galton, who's WSL like experience and her calibre of player, very strong role for coming on. Obviously, she got the 2 goals to bring her back into it. We know Tooney's more likely going to shoot from somewhere and bag a goal at some point. It was just so disappointing that 50 seconds, I remember being sat on the bench and I was like screaming from the sideline because I just wanted us to just take that first win against Man United, because it's only ever been losses or draws for Tottenham. I looked at the clock and it was literally 94-20 and the 94-10 and the goal went in, and I'm like, 50 seconds, that was all we had to hang on for, and we just fell short. And my heart sank for every single player, staff member that was a part of that day, because I don't think at any point we looked like, oh, we're 3-0 up, we're fine, we've got this in the bag. We're not stupid or arrogant enough to know that a team like Man United, with the players they've got coming off the bench and knowing that they can take control in large parts of the game at pushing for that equaliser, I just think we just ultimately died off. Like, everyone was just ran to the ground, and they just couldn't sustain the wave and wave and wave of attacks. And yeah, it's big steps for us. And I know it sounds silly to say like we're happy with the point, because I would take a point any day over no points. But you also look at it and think, with the performance we put in, we could have been sat here going into Christmas in top 3 Champions League spot above Arsenal and Man United, and sadly we're not. But like I said, there's so many positives to take away from that game, and hopefully we can continue that form going into the second part of the season in the league. But obviously we've now got to turn around to play them again away in the Subway Cup quarter-final next weekend, so hopefully we can get our revenge then.
Yeah, go on, go get your revenge. I can't believe it was 50 seconds to hold on. No wonder you're still feeling that. That one's gonna hurt. And the 34 shots that you mentioned from Man United, so 11 were on target. Their expected goal stat was 4.98, so they are going to be pretty annoyed that they weren't more clinical.
When you have that many chances, you're expecting, like you said, to score more goals. Because when you have, like, obviously, like Beth said, the crossbar was probably player of the match for the first half, which is always disappointing as a team when you just constantly not being able to finish your chances. But I think one thing that I really liked about it, and, I only managed to catch the second half because obviously we had played and we were, on our way home. And one thing that I really liked about watching Manchester United, yes, it's really unfortunate for Tottenham to throw away a 3-0 lead. You're looking at it going, we're 3-0 up against Man United with however many minutes to go. We can do this kind of thing. But one thing that I really enjoyed about watching Man United was they never gave up. They never kind of settled. And even when they went 3-0 down, immediately they went to try and attack. It wasn't a case of, oh, for God's sake, like, we've lost this game, it's done. Whereas I think in previous years, you probably would have seen that from a Man United team. You would have seen them kind of just crumble a little bit, self-implode, not really be able to get themselves out of it. And yes, okay, it's a point, but like Beth said, a point is better than no points. And I think Man United will also, as much as they'll feel frustrated that they didn't win the game with the XG that they had, with the amount of chances that they did have, for them to come away with a point after being 3-0 down, I think they'll be very, very happy with that outcome. And for them to not give up, to keep going to the final minute, well, the final 50 seconds, as you said, I don't know if they would have done that in previous years. So that's what I really liked watching from a Man United perspective. But I think watching it obviously as best friend and, someone who just loves to watch the women's game and everything, it was really hard to see the girls when that third goal went in for Man United, because you can just see it on people, the disappointment, the heartbreak, really, in terms of, we were so close to beating them. But yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic game to watch, especially the second half, in terms of sitting there watching it, you're going, oh my God, are Man United going to get another one? Oh my God, are they going to get another one? So as like a neutral watching it, it was a really good game to watch because you didn't know what was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, obviously I was gutted for Beth, because I would have loved to come to the Christmas party with a big smile. Well, she did anyway, with a big smile on her face, knowing that she's won 3 points. But yeah, I think what I really enjoyed about Man United's performance was the fact that they just didn't give up.
Yeah, let's keep it positive. That was a lovely goal from our Beth, wasn't it? Just a little step back to take herself away from the defender. Great strong header. we love to see it. So it's not all bad. And it was a special day as well for Drew Spence, 200 WSL appearances. And she is now the first player to do that whilst representing a country other than England. And obviously, you've both shared the pitch with her over the years. And she really is, I think, one of those players who defines the league, isn't she?
100%. I mean, like, she's one of the keyest players we've got at Tottenham. I think you can see a lot of our great football that we do play comes through Drew, and she's funny because she leads in a different way to a lot of players. Like, she's not very vocal, not really a massive talker, but you see on the pitch that she does the action. And I remember literally going back to the game last week, from kickoff, Villa kicked off and Drew went straight through the ball through Rachel Daly, and she sets the tone for the game so quickly, and she brings that tenacity, that aggressiveness. She's an intelligent player, technically very good, and I think obviously she probably didn't get as much game time as she'd have liked when she was at Chelsea, although she still played a fair amount and learnt a lot through working with other players and under Emma Hayes. But I think since coming to Tottenham, she's really shown that she is a true leader in her actions on pitch, and I think it warrants that her service to football and in the league. There's still many years left to come out of Drew. Like, if anything, I think this is the best I've seen her. She said it in her interview the other day that she's coming into like the best shape of her life. Like, she looks phenomenal. She's moving exceptionally well. And yeah, like, not just as a teammate, but as a friend, to see all she's achieving this year makes me really proud to be alongside her during that journey.
Yeah, I always felt that Drew was a really underrated player for many years at Chelsea. I think she was someone that you knew what you were going to get with her. And obviously, like Beth said, that aggression, that tenacity, that drive. And she's always had that. I played against Drew, actually, when I was a kid. It was always when I played at Reading, she was at Fulham. And I remember all the time we used to play against one another. And it was always kind of like me versus Drew. And it was like whoever scored the most goals, their team won. I had like little newspaper clippings, and it was like Fran Kirby scores 3, but Drew Spence scores 4. And then the next one was like Fran Kirby scores 2, Drew scores 1. It was a real fierce rivalry. And I was always quite scared of Drew because she was so strong. She was tenacious. Even as, an under 14, she had that kind of like that grit and that determination in her. And then obviously I moved to Chelsea and played alongside her, and also found out what an incredible person she is. She's very calm. She's very, you know, she's a good friend. She's a good teammate to have around in terms of what she brings and, who she is as a person. But then on the pitch, it's one of them ones when you talk about players and you talk about how they are off the pitch compared to on the pitch. And Drew is one of them ones where the contrast is so different. Off the pitch, she would never probably say anything that would upset you unless, she really felt it. But then on the pitch, she'll go through you. She's not scared to go through you in training or on the pitch. So she's a really good teammate to have in terms of what she brings. And like I said, I think she was really underrated at Chelsea. I felt, whenever I played alongside her, I really enjoyed playing with her. And as Beth said, she probably didn't play as much as she would have liked to, and probably what she deserved as well. I felt she deserved a lot. And there was times when she was playing consistently. And I always felt a little bit with Drew, because she'd been there for such a long time, it was easy for Emma to leave her out of the team because she knew she had that loyalty. She knew that she had that kind of bond with Drew, that no matter what, I can always rely on Drew. And that's even if I don't start her in this game. It's even if I drop her for this game, I know that if I need her for a game, she'll provide. She'll do what I ask her to do. And sometimes as a player, it works for you and sometimes it doesn't. And I do feel that Drew deserved more time on the pitch, even though she played many games for Chelsea and, helped the club win many trophies and, helped the team get to where it is now in terms of what she fought for, both on and off the pitch, in terms of she was there when, Chelsea didn't care about Chelsea, and going through that journey and being there. But I still think she deserved more time at Chelsea on the pitch than probably what she was given because of the player she is. And she's a very fantastic technical player. She's someone who can get around the pitch and, yeah, like I said, can leave a foot in if needs be. And you need them players in your team. You need that aggression. You need that one who's going to go, do you know what? No, you've had the ball long enough. I'm just going to take you out here. Just to kill that momentum a little bit. So, yeah, no, I really enjoy watching Drew as a player, and I really enjoyed playing alongside Drew as a teammate.
top player. Had to give her flowers on the podcast today, of course. Okay, to some epic goals in the Everton-Arsenal game. That strike from Hayashi, an absolute stunner. And I'm convinced that Katie McCabe, she only scores screamers. And can we talk about the second Arsenal goal? Because it's got credited to Russo, but it definitely came off Ford. I'm very confused about what happened there. And then Olivia Smith coming off the bench with a really lovely finish as well. What did we make of that game overall, Beth?
You know, it's funny, like, just touching on then, you're saying how the goal got credited to Alessia. Because obviously it come off her chest, like the keeper's made a great save, Caitlin Ford's finished it. And the funniest thing about that is I remember watching it and then afterwards seeing the headlines of VAR over. There's no VAR in our game, so how are they headlining that it's a VAR overturn Ford's goal for Russo's? And I'm like, again, it just shows how like little in a way that our game is kind of being respected, in the sense that if you want to start publicly saying VAR things, then implement it into the game, like put it into the game so that there's no way that you are getting these decisions wrong. But I mean, it'll be the easiest goal she'll ever score if she's just reacted and it's just hit her off the chest. But and then you feel for Caitlin, thinking she's got another, I don't know, goal in the bag, but goal bonus, whatever. But it was a very interesting game. You expected Everton somewhat to be on a high after their win against Chelsea, going unbeaten for so long. I must admit, as funny as it was to see the admin in Chelsea with the 6-7, you're just like, oh, like, as if there's a time to do it, there you go. But you think they're riding that high of beating the champions, but then how much that's probably taken out of them. They were then expected to go and do the same against another strong team like Arsenal. I think you were almost asking too much. And again, we know Arsenal played midweek, but look, they've got a calibre players and the bench to be able to warrant that rotation. But I think for Everton to go there and give the game to them, I think they can hold themselves high in how they approach the game. Like I said, the goal was phenomenal. All of the goals, you can't really argue with any of them. But you think you're kind of right. Okay, we're in a position where we're really challenging to get something out of this game, like we did at Chelsea. And then unfortunately, Arsenal were just too strong and kind of ran away with it in the end. But credit to Everton, because going back to back from Chelsea and Arsenal is a tough week for anyone. Look, out of both games, you'd look at them teams thinking, we're not getting any points out of these 6 and we've come away with 3 and can hold our heads high. Yeah, I'd say credit to Everton. Arsenal, again, still looking a bit vulnerable at times, whether that is due to fatigue or the amount of rotation that's happening in their squad. Questionable, but maybe like the partnerships aren't always there and clicking as much. But ultimately they found a way to win.
And that game marks Russo's 100th WSL appearance, so 51 goals in that time, which is pretty epic stats. Means she's behind only one English player. Honour me with this. We're going to play a little game and guess along. I'm going to give you some clues and you can see if you can work out who it is.
What do you mean behind one player?
Shit's behind you, Fran.
Ruin my game, Beth.
What do you mean?
Sorry, you've scored more goals in 100 appearances than what she has.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Play the game and then I'll pretend
let's
like
pretend.
I don't know.
Are you ready? Okay, clue
Okay.
number 1. They're the GOAT. Clue number 2. They're 5'2".
At a push.
Clue number 3. When they put on their signature black gloves, they step onto that pitch, they're ready to assist or score. It's, of course, Fran Kirby. Your numbers are amazing, by the way. So it's 61 goals in your first 100 WSL appearances.
Ah, it's not bad.
I love that you didn't know.
Oh, I
Bethany.
don't really pay attention to all them kind of stats or anything like that. I don't really get involved in it, to be fair. But I'll have a look.
Stop being modest and just say, I love that for me. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it.
I love
Stop
that
being
for me.
modest.
It's not bad as a midfielder.
Yeah, 61 in
Yeah.
100. All right, let's go to the West Ham and Liverpool game. They played out a 2-2 draw. Gemma Bonner just back from injury and then sent off in the 19th minute. I mean, far from ideal for Liverpool. What did we make of this red card? Did we think it was a little harsh or do we think it was actually a spot-on decision?
Game's gone. I just think I'm watching that game and you're seeing the recovering defender to give a red card in that, like, say if it would have literally just been the only two players there, like Gemma Bonner and the attacker, and the recovering defender, I know, was 5 yards behind, fine, like, no questions about it. But when they are literally in a foot race, toe to toe, you can't class that as last player. And for me, I think Liverpool their luck is just all out of it at the minute. I think they did well to rescue a draw, because you look at the bottom of that table and it was like, that's gonna solidify, in my opinion, at the minute, who's getting relegated. And I think both teams knew it was a must-win game, especially for Liverpool. West Ham threw away a lifeline in that game, especially when Liverpool only had 10 players. But I think that red card it's just, there's only so much you can say about officiating and stuff. And look, I appreciate it's not an easy job to have, but when it, in my own opinion, clear as day that yellow card at most, there was always going to be a recovering defender, and there's no guarantee she was ever going to score.
Fran, your take on it? Because I think I'm in agreement with Beth, I'll be honest.
Do we want to go into me talking about the officials now? I think we'll be here for a long time.
How many hours have we got? Oh, it's Christmas Day already.
No, look, I think the same as Beth. I agree with Beth in the sense of, I can imagine it's a really tough, no, this is the hard thing, right? So it's a very tough job to have, okay, as an official in the WSL, because the game is growing, because it's getting faster. And there are players, and I would put myself in that category, that probably give them a lot of stick during the game. And I'm someone that lets them know my opinions quite a lot in terms of the decisions that they make. And I just think, I don't want to say this in like a really negative kind of horrible way, but I just think at the moment there's no consistency with them. And I think, like, you're looking at that situation and you go, okay, you've given a red card. If that is your decision, no problem. However, if it was the other way around and Liverpool were playing, say, for example, a Chelsea or an Arsenal, and it was an Arsenal or Chelsea defender who did that to a Liverpool forward, I'm not sure they get a red card there. I'm not sure that the ref makes that decision against the top 4-5 team that they give a red card in that situation. I don't think so. I don't think the consistency is there, and I don't think that they would do it because they know the backlash that will come alongside doing it to one of them teams in the 19th minute. And I remember a few years ago when we played Manchester City away from home, and Alex Greenwood got 2 yellow cards and she got 1 yellow card for time wasting on a free kick in the first half. And the backlash and uproar that caused, I can imagine as refs, it's really difficult to make them kind of decisions against, teams that you're going to get them kind of like negative feedback from. Maybe you're worried about what the refs report looks like when it comes in from the top teams, because obviously as well, they need, decisions to go their way in terms of finishing as high as they can in the top kind of Champions League spots. So for me, I struggle with the consistency in terms of what the refs allow to go, what they don't against top teams. Because I know for sure, for example, if I'm playing for Brighton and my goalkeeper holds the ball for too long, which happened against London City, they give a corner. But I'm telling you now, if it was a top team, the ref's giving them on the borderline 8, you going up to 9. And this is where I think I've been on both sides of it, in terms of I can see now as an opposition playing against these teams that the decisions that you do not get compared to maybe the ones that they get. And I think that's my honest take on it, because I believe, like I said, yes, if the ref truly believes that that's a red card, and like Beth said, there's no guarantee that this other defender is going to get there in time. And if you truly believe that she's not going to get there in time, yes, it's a red card. But I don't think that would happen consistently. And of course, everyone reads the game differently. Everyone sees different situations differently. But this is where there needs to be more consistency with them in terms of on players for time wasting, whether it's a lower league team or a higher league team. Because I think, we're losing yesterday. I'm not saying this had an impact on the game yesterday, because I don't think it did. But, we're losing the game 2-0. Chelsea are they're slowly walking to get the ball for a throw in. The goalkeeper's throwing the ball further back when we have a corner. No yellow card for time wasting for them. But if that was the other way around, I think the ref would have been on it. I think she's blowing the whistle. I think she's getting on our goalkeeper. She's getting on whoever's taking the throw in. So I want more consistency from them, rather than that's a bad decision, that's a wrong decision. I want just the consistency in their decision making and what they're doing. And I think I strongly believe that if it was a top 3 team, I don't think she gets a red card in that situation.
And on that, can I just say, my other frustration, even if the referee thinks it could have been, what are your linos doing? They're in line with play, in line with the last defender. So you can't tell me from whatever angle that there's no way that girl wasn't making a recovery run there. I'm sorry, like it's too tight. And I think what annoys me is that a lot of the time it's the referee that gets the stick, but there's the fourth official can see it, that you've got 2 linos on the pitch, and you're like, at what point are you actually gonna speak up? And like, everyone makes mistakes. We talk about it all the time. Referees aren't perfect. We as players aren't perfect. If we were, we'd make every single pass and every single shot would go in. It doesn't happen as much as we wish it could. But like, where's your lines person in there actually? Like, you can overturn a decision in the game. Like, we've seen it happen time and time again in games where the ref will go and consolidate with their fourth or the lines person. And I just think in that game, it wasn't just the referee that let Liverpool down then, it was the rest of the lines people and the fourth, because, like I said, if I'm on the back end of that as a captain and that's happened, I would be straight in there questioning everything. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of how it was questioned, but there's not a chance that I would be letting that slide that easily with just copping out the blame on the referee, not the other officials that are also in that moment.
Don't feel that they get involved enough,
No.
the linos, I think in general. And I don't know if that's because they've been told not to, in terms of don't interfere too much, don't, like, let the ref run the game, let the game run smoothly. But like you said, there's some decisions where you're looking at a lino and you're going, are you going to put your flag up a certain way now? Like, are you going to make a decision? And like you said, if the lino can see something, they also have to share that with the referee. And I think the same happens with bad tackles, with people falling over when this shouldn't really be falling over. Penalties, in terms of like the lino is the closest one to see a penalty, not raising their flag and not giving an opinion. So they have to work as a team. Maybe they do. Maybe they communicate more than we think they do. I'm not sure, but I never hear the ref running around talking to the lino, and I'm quite close to the referee during a game. So
she's
I'm
always in
never
their ear.
hearing. Yeah, they normally can hear me. That's why they're like, "Well, you shut up. We can hear. We can't hear each other because of you."
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think they have to work as a team. It has to be a team effort from everyone, and they have to help one another. And yes, okay, if the referee makes a decision, the lino kind of, in the moment, okay, I'm not going to get involved. But that decision, the ref should take a minute or even take 5 seconds, go over to the player, have a chat, 5 seconds to really digest if it's a red card. To really have a moment, okay, Lino, talk to me. What did you see? What did the fourth official see? Let's work together here. Do you think she could have recovered? I don't know if she could have, so can you give me your opinion? These are things that they have to work together. But straight away, it's a red card. There's no communication. There's no kind of working out what's going on, or, so I think they have to become more, use each other more, and all of them have an opinion on the situation. Yeah, okay, the ref always makes the final decision. The lino might go, I don't think it was a red card, but I can't see from your angle. Okay, lino didn't see it, boom, red card, that's what I think. But we don't quite have that. We don't quite have that moment of kind of reflection. And sometimes then there's the opposite way where they don't make a decision, and then the lino just puts a flag a certain way because that's how maybe we should just do that. So it's, there's no kind of cohesion between them.
Talking of mistakes, a couple of times West Ham did just switch off, and obviously that ended up being very costly mistakes, losing the lead twice.
I mean, do you know what was an interesting stat with that? I seen that Mia Enderby, who scored, she's the first player to score for Liverpool that's not Swedish. And I find, like, I don't know why that stat's coming out, but again, it's like they are needing to start and find someone else to score goals. And we've spoken about it before on the pod that in previous games, yes, they've, like, when we played them, certainly they had really good build up. They were able to play through the lines, but they were always missing that end product. And now it's getting to crunch time where you need these players on your front line or anywhere really to start and step up and score these goals. So I'm sure that'll be a huge confidence boost for her now. Like, you always want to tick off that first goal, like get that, as I said, monkey off your back, as they say, and like actually just crack on. So I think hopefully now Liverpool obviously can start to refresh a little bit in the Christmas break, hopefully get some signings in that's going to help them a bit more with that end product. But I do think it's quite big that they finally were able to find the back of the net with a different player. But West Ham, oh my God, like you just think, what are you doing? Like, but then again, we gave away a 3-0 lead, so who am I to sit here and judge? Like, genuinely, like it works both ways, but you just think when you're life and death fight in relegation, that is a must-win game, and you've been given the lifeline of they're down to 10, you're already in the lead, and you just cost yourself, and you just think you don't know whether to feel sorry for them or just like shake your head and just be like like wake up a little bit. But that's the beauty of football. You just never know what's going to happen. There's always fighting talks, like at the bottom and at the top of the table. And sadly, this season though, it's looking more like you've got City running away with it, but Liverpool are just getting further and further away. And you're at a point now where we're like, can they even turn this? Is there enough games for them to even turn this around? But I do think West Ham are still sitting on a very fine line of we could still end up being in the same position as what Liverpool are.
Yeah, totally. They're going to be gutted they didn't win against 10 players. So points shared at the bottom of the table. And the last game to dig into is Leicester City, who played London City Lionesses. And it was a bit of a scrappy goal from Leicester, but got it done. And I actually think they deserved the win.
Yeah, it's a massive result for Leicester. Huge in terms of, they've had a tough few weeks. Not some results not really going their way. So obviously they lost quite heavily against us. So I think it was really important for them to get back to kind of getting some points on the board, because you're kind of looking at it going, right, okay, you're also in a bit of dangerous territory towards the bottom. And yeah, it seems that after the international break, London City just haven't quite clicked again. And I don't know if it's because, maybe he's found the team now that he wants to play and the players that he wants to start. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, you're looking at who is he going to play, who's the players that he wants in his starting 11. So it looks like he's kind of got that figured out, but they just don't look dynamic enough for me. They just don't look, like I said, when you have a player like Aslani, who can pull them strings. You need a dynamic front line. You need someone who's running in behind. You need someone who's coming to feet. And well, especially against us, it just looked too static. Everyone just wanted the ball to feet, which is fine, but you have to have them rotations. You have to have different movements. You have to create space for one another. And I mean, obviously, with Aslani missing the penalty at the end, you're going, okay, we could have maybe got a draw from the game. But if you're London City and you kind of climbed your way up the table a little bit more, you're looking at that game so going, we should get 3 points. We should get 3 points from this fixture in terms of the personnel that they have. I don't want to keep saying about the money that they've spent, because I love that there's someone in women's football who's just willing to spend money and do what needs to be done in terms of supporting women's football, supporting women's sport. But those are the games that you're looking at going, we need to win this game. This is a game that we need to win. And yes, like I said, the penalty wasn't Aslani's best penalty, but that happens. So I think they'll be disappointed, but they'll also probably look forward to the Christmas break as well, getting themselves, refreshed, get themselves going again, and hopefully finding that kind of like that switch again that they did start to find in the earlier parts of the season to build themselves up again in the league.
Yeah, because it was the first loss for London City Lionesses against a kind of lower downside in the WSL. And it's just not an ideal time, is it, for them to lose momentum if they actually want to stay towards the middle of the table and make their mark on the WSL like they said they would, Beth.
Yeah, I mean, look, we spoke about them at the very start of the first few weeks of the season, and they had all the big hitters, and everyone's like, oh, London City are going to go straight back down. Well, no, they got all the tough games out of the way before teams actually found form. So if anything, they were probably in a better position where once they'd actually figure themselves out in terms of those relationships, the connections, what is his starting team. And obviously they'd made signings along the way of players coming back from injury. I think obviously you've still got Van der Donk coming back. There's all these things that can affect it, and you think, okay, we've got the toughest games out the way. Now we can start to climb, and that's exactly what they've done. They've climbed, probably overachieved more than what most people thought they would be at this point. And then you're thinking, okay, they're actually really contending. This game's probably most likely going to be ours for the win. And then you're looking at that game, and again, like Fran says, last couple of games since the international break, they've kind of lost that connection in a way. Like you're talking about dynamic movements. I'm thinking Freya Godfrey, not slow. Nikita Paris is quite a mobile player. It's just hard because you think that these games are where teams know they have these opportunities, but they're wasting them. We know Villa's had a good few results recently, so they've been climbing. They've almost just allowed that gap to narrow, even though they'd got themselves in such a good place. So it's difficult, but I think they're also in a realistic place. And I think it was also I say a wake-up call. It's not that they thought they were indestructible or unbeatable, but I think it was a wake-up call for them to realise, okay, we had a tough start, we've climbed really well, but we're nowhere near the finished product yet, and we've still got a long way to go. And yeah, I think they'll be very disappointed to be coming away from a loss. But in terms of Leicester, really good for them to then edge away from that danger zone and edge closer to the middle of the pack.
It's been a good season so far, that is for sure. That is it, though, for this week's WSL debrief. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching right now. And obviously, share the pod with your mates and your family over Christmas. Do it. And thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.